Let's apply it to something everyone at home understands. Let's apply it to our relationship, something everyone at home understands. You're a man, you're with a woman. You're cheating on your woman. You try and hide it. At first, you try and deceive. Eventually, you get caught, and you just start telling her straight, yep, I'm cheating on you. If she continues to be a problem, and you're never going to break up, the only step left from that is for you to continue doing it and use force. That's when you start hitting her and being abusive. So we're now at a stage now in society where they're going to continue to do whatever the they want. They're going to do it right open in front of us. And if we're too much of a problem, they're going to do what they did to me. They're going to attack you. Let's apply.
Oh my God. Imagine saying that and you do not push back whatsoever. And these people want to call themselves conservatives. You want to call yourself, how is this conservatism? And you want to know what's so frustrating with me? Is that the left don't even realize this is a silver bullet to shoot at the Republicans. I am a right-winger. I'm a registered Republican. I'm telling you, there's only so much a lot of us could do. But like, if the left, are you demon rats so stupid that you can't take the ammunition that is handed to you on a silver platter and use it against the Republicans? This is a man followed by greasy head Don Jr. He's also followed by J.D. Vance. And these are the people who actually defend Andrew Tate, yet they call themselves conservative. And I want to know how beating your girlfriend, how forcing her to get into corn or do OF is conservatism. Make that make sense. But
okay, so people on the right and conservatives and Christians very often seem to make out that they are like morally superior to people on the left and say like the liberals, and also like obviously that works the other way around. People on the left will make out they're morally superior to people on the right. Okay, but well, people on the right and the conservatives, they claim to stand for like family values. Okay, they seem to think that well, some of them seem to think that the left is sometimes like contributing to sort of degenerate attitudes in society. Okay, and that if everybody sort of followed the sort of right-wing conservative kind of way of life, that it would be a better world, it'd be a better society, okay, if everybody had strong families, strong family values, and the same kind of morals that the conservatives have. Okay, this is what quite a few of them seem to think. Okay, so what I want to talk about, though, is how Andrew Tate's popularity is proving that a lot of people on the right and a lot of people who call themselves conservative don't really have conservative values and don't really have family values. I'm not saying all of them. There are a fair few people on the right and conservatives that have spoken out against Andrew Tate and have explained why they do not think the right should be supporting the Tate brothers. Okay, and I will get into that a bit later. But the thing is it seems like most of the people that do support the Tates are right-wing, and there are a hell of a lot of people calling themselves conservatives, which they're supporting the Tates, and they're showing that they really do not have conservative values. Okay. Now, Andrew Tate, he is charged with, in Romania, he is charged with trafficking, and he is charged with rape. Okay, and that's the same in the UK, as well as, I believe, a fair few other charges, like he hasn't been paying taxes in different countries, and he has admitted to this.
But when I lived in England, I refused to pay tax. It was 40%. So they started sending me letters and threatening me. You know what you do? Guess what I did? Ignore the letters. Ignore. Then they start sending people around to my house. Where's Andrew? Oh, he's not here. Ignore. You want my money? Come get it. Come get it.
I just want to bring you some breaking news before we leave you. Well, Andrew Tate has said that the Chief Magistrate's ruling to allow police to seize more than £2 million from him and his brother Tristan is not justice and is a coordinated attack. Of course, it comes after Westminster Magistrates Court allowed the Cornwall Police to seize that money, saying he owed a lot of unpaid taxes.
Okay, and a lot of the crimes that he's accused of, he has admitted to at some point or another. Okay.
So yeah, on CobraTape.com I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is a pimp and hose degree that I'm
Clever.
And
Clever.
that teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me. Because that's what I did. That was my MO, was find girls, make them love me, and make them work for me. And that's how I got rich.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense. Like, I was not trying to have sex with women. I was trying to get women to obey me. And I realized that's easier if they like to have sex with me. If they don't like having sex with me, it's pretty hard to make them listen to me.
Her believing she needs you, and this is extremely important, because at the beginning she will need you, but then she won't need you. But you have to keep that fallacy, keep that dream alive. You can go, I don't know the account, I don't have password to the account, I've never set it up before, I don't know how the banking works, I don't have any of my guys' phone numbers, I have nothing. And that's why they don't want to leave, because like, well, he has everything, I need him, I have to stay with him, he has everything. It's important, tell me, it's very important. Anyway, so sex is not important, it's control of it. You have to take the risk. You can walk into a business relationship with a female, I'll tell you why. Women have sex with somebody. If you're fucking, you can fuck somebody else. Now, women's always going to be most loyal to the guy she's fucking, as opposed to anyone else for any other reason. If you go work for you, you say, look, we're going to do this farm's going to make money, here's your cut, here's my cut, we're working together, blah, 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 here's fucking I juice. Other those guys who like try to do a contract with a girl, try to sit there and talk common sense to a girl. When's the last time talking common sense to a girl has ever worked? Ever. If you're not fucking the girl, she is fucking someone else. And the other person she's fucking is going to have the control over her mind.
Again, control. Control her through money, control her through information, control her through manipulation, control her through sex.
I don't go see a lawyer to talk about the law. I walked in there and said, listen, I've committed multiple felonies. Am I going to go to jail? Well, probably. Well, then see ya. That was a female. I went to a man's office, said, I've committed multiple felonies.
There are things we can do. We can try this, we can try that.
No problem.
I make one call, we send somebody else to jail.
He is the new Andrew. He shave his head and he go. I'm like, oh, he's cool. That's the lawyer I want. They should kick him out of Romania. Well, yeah, if they want Romanians here, they'll let my niggas come here in human traffic. Just kick me out.
He just admitted, this is it. He just admitted they let his N-word butt come in human traffic. And I don't think he meant to do that.
Like his pimp and hose degree, where he's basically teaching men coercive control and how to like manipulate the woman into, you know, thinking that you love her and getting her to fall in love with you and getting her to think that she needs you, and how to like get the woman to like persuade the woman to do the OnlyFans, and like how to isolate women you know, from their family and friends, so that they're, you know, totally dependent on you. And this is all like abuse and you know, lying to people to get them to do OnlyFans or to get them to do sex work. This is called sex trafficking, okay? And there's also like, I mean, evidence that Andrew Tate has like assaulted these women.
That's a voice recording controversial influencer Andrew Tate, a woman in 2015. That audio, along with disturbing messages reading, quote, "I loved raping you," are now coming to light as Tate faces sex trafficking charges overseas. Vice World News published the messages and voice notes allegedly made by Tate. We want to warn you, they may be disturbing to some.
You didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to. That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this planet. Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I f***ing loved how much you hated it. Turn me on. Are you seriously so offended I strangled you a little bit? You didn't f***ing pass out. Chill the f*** out. Jesus Christ, I thought you were cool. What's wrong with you?
The accuser included a message apparently sent from Tate reading, quote, "I loved raping you."
Why? I am one of the most dangerous men on this planet. Sometimes you forget exactly how lucky you were to get fucked by me. Would you rather me pin you down and make you do things you didn't like, or would you rather fuck? You didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to. That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this fucking planet.
Run out my ideas. That's right, lock the door, you You knew I was going to beat the out of you. If you behaved, I wouldn't have to hit you, would I? You don't. Get out. You can't stay in there forever.
Okay, and the quite a common accusation from alleged victims is that they claim that he would be violent towards them during sex, and one of the things that he seems to like doing is to strangle the women, sometimes until they go unconscious. And some of them have said that that when they come round, he's having sex with them, and he's been having sex with them while they were unconscious. Okay. And talking about like being violent and strangling women is something that he's openly talked about before, and it is a common thing that alleged victims have accused him of doing.
You know what they didn't teach you in self-defense? Here's a little move. When I grab you by your neck and you start annoying me trying to resist, and I just and then I grab you by your neck again. Then what the fuck are you gonna do when your face is collapsed and your fucking cheekbone's broken? You ain't gonna do shit but cry.
I guarantee I changed the way you look at sex forever. You're gonna be fucking crying. I won't cry. I bet you cry, bitch. I bet you fucking cry. You're saying I wouldn't cry. You're challenging me to a fight. You're saying I can't hurt you. You're out of your fucking mind? I don't even have to fuck you. Forget the sex part. That's a distraction. My dick can stay in my pants. I'll just start beating the shit out of you.
A lot of people could say, he's just joking there. He was just joking. The fact that he always talks about choking women, and yet that is a consistent thing, and I've read a lot of the case files, he choked me until I went unconscious. They all seem to say it. You know, you want to say he was just talking shit on the internet there, you believe what you want to believe. But what no one can disagree with, if they're a logical human being, is that the man should have gone to trial and faced justice, and now Donald Trump has stopped that from happening. If not him, his administration, they need to get their shit together, big time. The lawyer of one of the alleged victims has released a statement, and it seems clear that the US intervened in Romania to assist the Tate brothers, who are being prosecuted for sex trafficking over 35 women, including minors. This is a slap in the face to all the victims of the Tate brothers, especially the US victim, who is not being protected by her country. And guess where she happens to live? Florida. Exactly where they've went. And guess what they've went and done? They've put a fucking restraining order against the victim, the Jane Doe, while they're in Miami. They've told the court that they are afraid that she will harm them and that this has caused them emotional distress. Absolute pussies. They're literally just taking the piss out of this girl.
Many of the victims in the remaining case, I've read their testimony, including the 15-year-old girl who provided testimony against Andrew Tate saying, you know, he sexually abused me when I was 15. And she describes really her distress. You know, he took me at this young age of 15 and, you know, sexually abused me. She describes anal sexual abuse, being strangled. And on top of that, there's all of these UK victims. And what's so compelling is that there is consistency in the description of the abuse among many women across countries and across different time periods. So that young 15-year-old described being strangled by Andrew Tate. She doesn't know these UK victims who back in 2016 described being strangled by Andrew Tate. That's a level of corroboration you rarely see. That's powerful evidence. So there's multiple victims that have come forward and described violent sexual abuse in multiple countries.
Let's see what he's accused of again. Just to remind you, he is charged with raping a 15-year-old girl anally. This has not been dismissed. This is ongoing. And this was a girl who had apparently lied for him initially to the police, but I think they'd wiretapped her and found out that she wasn't being truthful. They brought her back in and said, look, we know you're lying. Tell us the full truth. And Andrew Tate allegedly had bribed her a few grand to not say anything. And when she started talking, they've got some quotations here. I'll read this. When we had sex, Andrew was often aggressive with me in the sense that he beat me with a belt, choked me. It happened that once he choked me until I fainted. Circumstances in which he woke me up by slapping me in the face. She also said, you take her so young, you fool her and make her your slave. Fuck you. Anyway, think about it, bro. When I was little, I had sex with him. God, he put his dick in my ass and I was telling him, stop, bro. He choked me, fuck, when I was little. I mean, look, this is where it's been highlighted. Continuous sex acts with a minor. This is the legal documents here. And this is what the Trump administration are letting back out onto the streets, man. Unbelievable. And look, I know a lot.
He's also admitted to scamming men before. Oh, well, Andrew Tate said that sometimes he would chat to the men online pretending to be one of the women. And he thought he was very good at seducing these guys, and these guys were believing that they were going to meet one of the models and that they were in love and they're going to have a relationship. Okay, so he scammed them out of money. This is lonely men that were hoping that they were going to meet a woman.
I did is I unplugged their keyboards. I plugged a new one in from me behind the screen. So the chicks would sit there and hit a keyboard that wasn't plugged in. And me and my brother, and eventually some staff I trained, would do all the talking. The girls were just pure, just losers, just laughing and doing this. Their titties out. And they're talking to fucking ice cold hustlers. We were taking their money, all of it. They come and say, all of it. We fucking milking them dry. Women have no clue how to do. They don't have, because they run their looks. They don't have any of the intellect. They have no game. Nothing. Nothing. Nah, you get a man with game and give him a female's body, a female avatar, you will fuck a guy up.
I had these guys selling their houses, life savings, loans, all of it to me. Give me it all. So like, and it's basic shit, right? You'd have a guy.
Feel bad or no?
Fuck no. To give a solitary fuck.
Okay, so he has admitted to a lot of, like, really terrible things, and it's a lot of, like, the conservatives and people on the right who are, like, supporting him when his values are as far from conservative as they could possibly be. Now, a while ago, Andrew Tate went for an interview on the Hodge Twins channel, okay, and a lot of these people that, like, have Andrew Tate on their show and interview him, they allow him to lie. They don't push back on any of his lies. No, most of them haven't done any research on him at all. And they just give him a platform to lie, okay? And a YouTuber who calls himself Gadget, who has done a lot of videos calling out Andrew Tate, calling him out for the scams he does and the fact that he's still scamming men now, and also, like, going through the evidence against him. Okay, and this Gadget, he did a video showing, like, when Andrew Tate was on the Hodge Twins podcast, in just the Gadget counted how many lies Andrew Tate told in, like, the space of just a few minutes, and Andrew Tate told, like, over 100 lies in the space of just a few minutes, and these twins just sort of, they didn't interrupt him, they didn't give him any pushback, and they just sat there going, like that. Okay, well, Andrew Tate told lie after lie after lie.
But let's be honest, like, I want to be perfectly honest with you, gentlemen. I've thought about this long and hard. I had about a year and a half in my house to think about this. And I'm sitting there thinking, do I stand a chance in a fair trial? Bro, when I bust my case in Romania, when I walked out of the courtroom and we won, I was like, what the fuck? I mean, I always said I was innocent. I always said it was made up, but I was like, they did all this and then let me win. It seems illogical to me. They have to go through all this mess to then let me walk. Now, that's logical if law is real, but I don't believe law is real. He said,
They just pluck and choose who they want to convict. And if you do buy her a handbag, you're manipulating her because you're a human trafficker. The only way to win is to not talk to another fucking woman alive. Just don't talk to him ever again.
But what is even more disturbing is the fact that Andrew Tate, he comes out with this.
Apply it to something everyone at home understands. Let's apply it to our relationship. Something everyone at home understands. You're a man, you're with a woman. You're cheating on your woman. You try and hide it. At first, you try and deceive. Eventually, you get caught and you just start telling her straight, yep, I'm cheating on you. If she continues to be a problem and you're never going to break up, the only step left from that is for you to continue doing it and use force. That's when you start hitting her and being abusive. So we're now at a stage now in society where they're going to continue to do whatever the they want. They're going to do it right open in front of us. And if we're too much of a problem, they're going to do what they did to me. They're going to attack you. Let's apply.
Oh my God. Imagine saying that and you do not push back whatsoever. And these people want to call themselves conservatives. You want to call yourself, how is this conservatism? And you want to know what's so frustrating with me? Is that the left don't even realize this is a silver bullet to shoot at the Republicans. I am a right-winger. I'm a registered Republican. I'm telling you, there's only so much a lot of us could do. But, like, if the left, are you demon rats so stupid that you can't take the ammunition that is handed to you on a silver platter and use it against the Republicans? This is a man followed by greasy head Don Jr. He's also followed by J.D. Vance. And these are the people who actually defend Andrew Tate, yet they call themselves conservative. And I want to know how beating your girlfriend, how forcing her to get into corn or do OF is conservatism. Make that make sense. But anyway, that.
And the twins still just sit there and go, and agree. Okay, now I find it pretty amazing that guy can sit there and advocate for violence and none of them say anything about it. Okay, like, it is amazing that anybody would just sit there and listen to somebody advocate for violence and not say anything. Okay, because that is, the one thing, like, because people go on about nowadays people being triggered snowflakes that, want people censored for saying mean words or for saying controversial things. Now, I'm for freedom of speech, but I do think the one exception is when somebody is actually advocating for violence, okay? And this is what I'm talking about. These are guys that are claiming to be conservatives. How can they say they have conservative values when, even the idea of cheating on your partner is anti-conservative. It is anti-family, okay? Yeah, Andrew Tate just sat there and said,
let's apply it to something everyone at home understands. Let's apply it to our relationship. Something everyone at home understands. Something everyone at home understands. You're a man, you're with a woman. You're cheating on your woman. You try and hide it. At first, you try and deceive. Eventually, you get caught and you just start telling her straight, yep, I'm cheating on you. If she continues to be a problem and you're never going to break up, the only step left from that is for you to continue doing it and use force. That's when you start hitting her and being abusive. So we're now at a stage now in society where they're going to continue to do whatever they want. They're going to do it right open in front of us. And if we're too much of a problem, they're going to do what they did to me. They're going to attack you.
Well, you can all identify with this, can't you? You're cheating on your girl, and then when she gets upset about it, you just beat her up. And they just nod along and agree. And this is what I mean. Like, how can these conservatives sit there and say that they're on the side of good, and it's people on the left, or it's the liberals that are the degenerates? How can they say that now when this is what they are agreeing with? Now, PBD, these are some more, supposedly conservatives who have Andrew Tate on their podcast, and just like all of them, let him lie. All right. And these guys seem to be slightly confused of why he is in so much trouble, or why Florida wants to investigate him, or why anybody would want to prosecute him. Because according to them, a guy who's admitted to trafficking women, a guy who's admitted to sleeping with underage girls, and has been accused of rape by multiple women, according to them, that's not at all serious. And they don't understand why anybody would extradite somebody for that, because, it's not like they killed Kennedy or anything. It's just, a few minor things, according to them.
The last member of the panel was Patrick's financial guru and chief strategy officer of his life insurance pyramid scheme, Tom Ellsworth. Tom actually didn't really contribute to this conversation about Florida investigating the Tates, but he most certainly has joined in the PBD podcast Andrew Tate Simp sessions in the past. And I have one clip that I never intend on letting Tom live down. From March 2024, after the Tate's extradition to the UK was approved.
Someone's going to have to hear what they have to say. Their message is going to get out there. Tom, did you have any thoughts on this, or you're sitting there pretty quiet?
No, this is unsurprising, but this is horrifying. You've got now UK courts on these guys didn't kill Kennedy. And they're being extradited at great cost, great publicly, from Romania to here. So somebody doesn't like what they're saying, and somebody doesn't want them to say more. And now you've got a what's this, 2012, a 10-year-old case? This is 2012 is the first case. So this is unsurprising to me. They have pissed somebody off. They continue to piss somebody off. And now all of a sudden, well, there's nothing. And now the 4 girls are in the UK. They do a crowdfunding thing. What the hell does the Crown Court care about 2 guys who had a dispute with some women compared to all the things that you could be worried about? Something is up below the surface, and these guys have pissed somebody off, and they're not going to let it go. And you know what's interesting? Whoever it is, they can't say what it really is.
The extradition that Tom is speaking about is for trial-ready charges that include human trafficking and rape. Tom was just calling sex trafficking and rape a dispute with some women. These charges are what he is asking why the Crown Court would care about them. He was talking about sex trafficking and rape when he said it's not like they killed Kennedy. This is how sick this group of absolute freaks really is. Patrick Bet-David truly is a disgusting, disgraceful, depraved, degenerate piece of filth. But what the hell is with this over-the-top propaganda that he is running for these self-confessed sex-trafficking child predators? I find it really hard to believe that this is just a financial agreement. Have Patrick Bet-David and his team use the services of the Tates? Do the Tates have something on them? In my opinion, they have opened themselves up to make it fair to ask this question.
Okay, and Candace Owens, of course, Christian conservative who's the biggest defender of Andrew Tate. She'll let him come on a podcast and lie. She'll lie on behalf of him. And she even has tried to make out that he is a good role model for young men. Okay, and her opinion of what's good and bad role models for the young is really quite interesting. Okay, because Candace Owens has gone on her channel, she has gone on and on and on and on about how she thinks that Taylor Swift is an absolutely terrible role model for young women. She's described Taylor Swift as the worst feminist, and she goes on and on and on about how terrible role model she is for young women. Because she thinks that Taylor Swift acts quite sort of childish, that she acts more like a teenager than an adult woman. And of course, Taylor Swift is like in her late 30s and she's not married, not got any kids, and not pushing for family, okay, which is the sort of thing that the conservatives consider not a good role model for women. Okay, now, if people don't like Taylor Swift, I don't care. Okay, I don't care what people's opinion is on Taylor Swift. This isn't about defending her. What I'm talking about here is the different standards people like Candace Owens hold men and women to, okay, in the sense that she'll go on and on about how terrible Taylor Swift is, but then praise up Andrew Tate as a great role model for young men, okay, when, whatever you think of Taylor Swift, she is not worse than Andrew Tate, okay? Because, I mean, even if you were to leave aside for a minute the overwhelming evidence that Andrew Tate is a trafficker, a serial rapist, that he's admitted to abusing underage girls, that he's a scam artist, even if you were to leave that to one side, he does not advocate for family, he doesn't advocate for the traditional conservative life, okay? As we've heard, he tells men that it's okay to cheat on your wife and beat her up apparently if she doesn't like it. He's also he advocates for men impregnating as many women as possible, but not being there to look after your kids yourself. Okay, and it's interesting that conservatives are okay with that from men, you know, because you could say the same sort of thing for Elon Musk and the amount of kids that Elon Musk has, and a lot of conservatives are okay with that, yet they go on and on and on about how single mothers are a cancer on society. and they will, a lot of them discriminate against single mothers without even knowing the situation. The blame goes all on the woman. But when you have men who advocate for impregnating as many women as possible and not being there for your kids, for some reason conservatives don't hold men to account. Okay, and some people have made the argument with Elon Musk that, well, the guy's really, really very rich, so can pay for all his kids. But it's like, well, it is the job of the father then just to pay for the children, not to be there emotionally. Because again, these conservatives go on and on about how it's terrible for a woman to be raising kids alone because they need a father. But then if they're okay with Elon Musk having creating lots of single mothers and not being there for the children because he's rich, are they saying that the only role of the father is to pay for the kids then? They're not actually meant to, like, care for the kids or look after the kids? Okay. And, yeah, like, Andrew Tate advocates for this as well. And this isn't conservative values. And it's really interesting the way that some of these conservatives, you know, will go on and on about how what a disaster it is that Taylor Swift is having this influence over young girls. But they don't care that a complete and utter degenerate like Andrew Tate has an influence over young boys. And, you know, when you add on the fact as well that it looks like he is an extremely dangerous abuser of women and he's influencing young boys, he is a million times worse than Taylor Swift. Like, if you don't like Taylor Swift, fine, but don't sit there and say, like, she's the worst thing in the entire world, but Andrew Tate is great for young men. That is absolutely ridiculous. And also, I think it was Matt Walsh that when he went on an episode of Piers Morgan, this was quite a while ago, and he was talking about Andrew Tate as a role model for boys and Taylor Swift as a role model for girls, okay? And he only briefly mentioned Andrew Tate and, you know, kind of said, like, oh, you know, some of the things he says are good, he agrees with, and some of the things, like, he doesn't agree with so much. And then he just went on and on and on and on and on about how terrible Taylor Swift is. And this is what I mean about how they hold men and women to different standards. They blame women for everything. And they'll go on and on about what a terrible role model Taylor Swift is, when Andrew Tate is like a million times worse. Now, I suspect that Matt Walsh probably didn't want to mention the allegations against Andrew Tate because they're not proven yet, and that might be why he didn't bring that up. But like I just said, even if you leave aside the terrible charges that he has, the stuff that he comes out with is not promoting conservative values, okay? So how they can be so opposed to Taylor Swift, but not so much Andrew Tate, doesn't make any sense. It's like we're allowed to criticize women, but not men. Or we're horrified by the idea of young, say, like teenage girls getting the impression that it's like okay for a woman to not be married and not have kids and like pursue like a career. They're horrified by that. But the influence Andrew Tate has, like, he's actually brainwashed, not just him, the red pill community, brainwashes young men into hating women, right? And I'm talking about teenage boys, not just, like, adult men that have, like, had some sort of negative experience. I'm talking about teenage boys, like, the guy, who calls himself Murdered with Crayons, who is always exposing Andrew Tate's lies and, you know, shows clips on X of, like, when Andrew Tate is admitted to, like, committing crimes and all that. So he's always calling Andrew Tate out. And some people in interviews have, like, asked him, like, how did he first get into, like, looking at Andrew Tate and looking at what he's accused of in the first place, right? And that Murdered with Crayons said that it was because he found out his son had been watching Andrew Tate content and it was having an effect on his son. It was making his son, like, disrespectful towards women. Okay.
Tate came across my radar during the pandemic. He was exploding on social media at that time, and one of my sons was consuming his content. I was not aware of it, and made an offhanded remark one night at dinner about women being stupid, and he wasn't going to listen to what my wife was going to, or what my wife was saying. And you can imagine how that played out at the dinner table. I'm not listening to women anymore. Women are stupid, sort of thing. So I had to figure out, where that came from. And I started going down the rabbit hole. And as time went on, it was kind of peeling off layers of an onion. Each layer kind of got worse. First, they ended up getting canceled. Then they got raided. Then they got arrested. And eventually they got charged. And then there's a group of people who have shared interest in what's happening here and the influence that he has over young men. And we were just sharing information and requesting documents from Romania through the Freedom of Information Act, putting it out there and using their own videos to show where they might be saying something that might not be truthful. And my account just started to get a lot of attention. And here we are having a podcast with you. You have Candace Owens, who, those of you listening who don't know, Candace has went on the offensive for Andrew in some quite disturbing ways. She's married to someone named George Farmer. George Farmer is an old-time friend of Andrew Tate. In an interview, George Farmer says he knew Andrew since before he was Andrew. So they go way back. That leads to a whole bunch of other questions. If you've known Andrew for a really long time, back in his pimping days, what do you know exactly? So Candace has made several videos trying to defend him. She went as far as making an attack video and went incredibly hard on the American victim. So the American victim definitely has a checkered past. This is the type of victim that some of these traffickers prey on. They look for, women who are vulnerable, women who have troubled backgrounds. There was a man who was 54 years old, 52, 54, I believe. He was essentially raping her when she was 15 years old, and another minor. The mother hired a private detective, photographed them through a window, raping the 15-year-old child. He was convicted, sentenced to prison for 24 years. Happened with 2 students. He lost his appeal. Candace Owens made a video trying to defame and slander the American victim, stating that she has falsely accused this man who had been convicted by a court of law and that he should not be in prison. Now, here's the crazy part. She wouldn't say the man's name who was convicted, which is Keith Fox. And she says, because there was a minor involved, I'm not going to say his name. And she would beep out his name. But she said the victim's name over and over and over and over and over again, but protected I'm going to call him a pedophile. Candace Owens made those types of videos, really sticking her neck out, trying to defend him. Can only imagine she's doing that with help of her husband, who's like, yeah, help protect these guys. You have a platform. Patrick Bet-Davids, I don't know why he's doing it. Tucker Carlson, I don't know why he's doing it. We know through a video, Joseph McBride, Tate's U.S. lawyer, his second U.S. lawyer, he says that he's the one who set up the Tucker interview. I don't know if some of them just don't understand the gravity of what's happening because they believe these guys, or if they don't care, or if they just don't know. They're just not paying attention.
It makes sense that teenage boys would fall for this whole, we just help people go viral on TikTok. When you're looking at Candace Owens, she's been around the block. She knows what's going on in a lot of different areas. And the conservative position is more commonly to be anti-trafficking. It's really going against the norm here. Why are these conservatives turning this around? It just seems absolutely bizarre.
And he's not the only one who said this kind of thing. There's a woman on TikTok who, she's talked about how her teenage son got radicalized by the red pill, and she sort of explained how she's now de-radicalized him, but she wasn't happy about them having this effect on her son. And these conservatives who keep complaining about Tyler Swift, they don't seem to care about the effect that Andrew Tate and the red pill are having on young men. We're talking about teenagers. How many times have these conservatives said, oh, but the feminists are breaking up the family? They keep saying that it's the feminists breaking up the family, but the red pill community is doing their absolute best to turn men and women against each other. They're trying to turn men and boys against women, but also, like, the more men become misogynists, the more it turns women against men. And, you know, and also, and the reason why I'm making this video is because I want to point out that the more right-wing people go towards supporting people like Andrew Tate, the more women are not going to be wanting to vote right. And, well, not just women, I don't think, but you know, they don't seem to, like, see the negative effect on their side. Okay, and also talking about role models as well, Candace Owens has also said that Cardi B is a bad role model for young women, and she said, well, one of the reasons she said that Cardi B is a bad role model for young women is because of a crime that Cardi B committed in the past. Like, I think she stole some money or something from a man. So Candace Owens said that she should probably be in jail. Now,
why did Billboard decide, right, to name Cardi B Woman of the Year? She should never win that title because she's admitted openly that she's robbed and drugged men. She should never, ever be allowed by Bill Cosby standards, right? She should probably be in prison according to Bill Cosby standards. She's openly admitted to and robbing men, right? Yet she's named Woman of the Year. Why? Who made that decision and why did they make that decision? These are the questions that I ask my audience to ask themselves.
Okay, fair enough. But it's interesting, isn't it, how Candace Owens' point of view is that Cardi B should probably be in jail because she committed a crime a long time ago. But Andrew Tate, who, in his own words, has committed multiple felonies, is committed horrific crimes and admitted to doing awful things, and yet she doesn't believe he belongs in jail. That's really strange, isn't it? Also, Andrew Tate constantly lies to his fans, okay? He's been saying for years, like, oh, that his case in Romania is falling apart, that there's no evidence against him, there's, you know, they got nothing, or sometimes even saying the case is dismissed. Okay, and he's lying, and he says there's no victims, or that he's friends with all the victims, and he's lying, okay? And so many of his fans just believe it and keep repeating his lies over and over again. And sometimes it's quite frustrating because some of this stuff, it is easily proven that it's lies. Andrew Tate takes his fans as idiots because he thinks that they won't do even the bare minimum research, and sadly he's proven right. They either don't do the bare minimum research, or they completely dismiss any evidence, even when it's overwhelming evidence. Like, even when it's Andrew Tate's own voice in a telephone conversation, and it's been verified that this is definitely Andrew Tate's own voice, you still get some of his fans saying, it's AI, it's AI. You know, they just, I don't know whether they're lying to defend him or whether they really believe it and are in denial. I don't know. But yeah, he's constantly lying to his fans. But also, like, a lot of his fans as well, they don't think about the fact that, like, he constantly contradicts himself. Like, one minute he's talking about how his case in Romania has been completely dismissed, and then another minute he's talking about how I'm going back to Romania to, for his bail thingy that he has to sign every month or whatever. He says, because I don't run away like a coward, even though, like, he has run away, but still, well, doesn't his fans, like, question this? Like, he's told you one minute that his case is dismissed, and then the next minute he's contradicting himself, okay? And it's like, why don't you realise this?
But I've done nothing legally wrong, because if I did, I'd be in jail. And Romania is probably the easiest place to possibly go to jail, and I'm not in jail, and they can't put me in jail. And their own judges keep letting me out. So this is a process which is taking a long time, that's true. But primarily now it's because of their elections. It's the reason they won't let me go. If it wasn't for the elections, I'd already be out of here. So I'm happy to actually answer some questions. If anyone has a good faith question, I'm happy to answer one or two of them. But I am just truly, I want to thank everybody for dedicating your lives to my criminal case. I mean, me personally, I'm busy getting rich, so I don't give a fuck about any of your criminal cases. I don't know who you are, what cases you're going through. I got shit to do. So,
All right,
like any of you
Andrew.
could
Look
be
who's growing
murderers.
some
Yeah, yeah.
balls. Holy shit.
Hold on. One second, one second. So appreciate you coming on the panel, Andrew. We got Murder by Crayons who wants to pose a question. So Crayons, go ahead.
Yeah,
Ah,
nice.
pedophile.
Yeah. Speaking of pedophiles, you've been charged with raping a 15-year-old in the ass. That's why you're on house arrest, and you're lying to your
You
fans, and
would
you know it.
huh?
And you know it.
Hello,
So
friend.
yeah, let's talk about
You're probably one of
pedophiles.
my most. You're one of my most dedicated fans. I haven't been charged with that
You have been
crime.
charged. I
Firstly.
have the documents. I have the documents. You've been charged.
Secondly, no. I've not been charged in the second
You have
trial.
been charged. I
There's no
understand
indictment.
Romanian law. You've been charged.
Let him
You haven't been indicted. You have been charged.
Stop lying, Andrew.
Wait, guys. Hold on. One second. We're gonna keep this cordial. Andrew, you're gonna make a point, and then we're gonna go to Crayons. We're just gonna keep this cordial, so we can make this fair. But Andrew, you're welcome to make a point, and then we'll go to Crayons. It's a double
Go
mute.
ahead.
So
Go ahead, Andrew. Gather your thoughts.
Yeah, guys, just keep this cordial. If it's fighting over, it's not gonna make the experience as good. So, Andrew, go ahead.
So he's checking with his attorneys right now to figure out how to handle this. So in Romania, so Andrew has been charged for sex acts with a minor who is 15 years old in the second case. He's not been indicted, but he has been charged. He's also been charged with trafficking a minor for allegedly putting a 17-year-old girl on webcam. Through letters rogatory, her home country has confirmed her age, and My Free Cams also confirmed when she created the account. So he has been charged. He's using the complexity of Romanian law to lie to everyone, to make them believe his case has been dismissed. He hasn't been charged. He's being held against his will. He's still under judicial control from the first case because it has not been dismissed. The prosecutor's rewriting the indictment. The second case is still under investigation, and he's under house arrest specifically for the 15-year-old that they're alleging that he had sex acts with, repeated sex acts.
You are so full of shit.
I got the documents, Andrew. I got the documents.
That all you got, Andrew.
Shit. This fucking loser has dedicated 3 years of his life to me.
Prove it.
He can leave his house, Andrew.
I am gonna walk, and he is gonna fucking cry, and it's gonna be the greatest day. And you know what? I know things he doesn't know, and I'm gonna walk a lot sooner because I've done nothing wrong. The first case was thrown out. You keep
Been saying
reading
that
off
for
a
3
piece
years.
of paper that a judge has already thrown out. You dummy.
It hasn't. They haven't thrown out anything, jackass.
You're lying.
This is gonna be a great day. Gentlemen,
Oh, it is.
all the women at home who are talking about me and saying maybe I have blackmail on important people, I know I'm a boss. I know you all want me. You can DM me anytime.
Andrew, quick question. Can you just confirm? So there was people making claims saying there's extradition cases that you've got in the UK. Just to confirm, in terms of Romania, this is the only case that you currently have. If it's connecting.
There's a common statement that's being made right now coming from, generally speaking, Andrew Tate supporters, as well as I think the Tate brothers, about how the Romanian charges were dropped. Is that the case?
No, they've never been dropped. The case is ongoing. And this is an important point because the Tate brothers have said multiple times that the case is dismissed, yet now they acknowledge it's not dismissed, and then they claim they're going to return for a court hearing. So why do they continuously lie about easily verifiable facts? I think that should cause everyone pause and to be somewhat skeptical, because either the case is dismissed or it's not. They've said it multiple times that it's dismissed, and now they're saying it's not dismissed. So why are they lying? And no, it's not dismissed. There's two separate investigations. The first, which involves Jane Doe and Mary Doe, that had gone all the way to the pretrial stage. And now, because some evidence was excluded for procedural reasons, the court sent it back to the prosecutor to redo that indictment. But there's also a second investigation, including 35 victims, including 2 minors. So Both of
In
those
Romania.
In Romania. So both of those are ongoing, and we'll just see a new indictment.
Will they be going to trial, those cases?
Well, we'll see, right? It'll go through the process of, the thing about Romania too is they allow every single court decision to be appealed. So the Tate brothers have appealed every single minute court hearing and decision. So that's a clear delay tactic. They keep acting like this is taking so long because there's no evidence. No, it's taking a very long time because you've appealed every decision. You have a right to do that. That's okay. But don't then say that the delay is caused by a lack of evidence or the prosecution when you are the one disputing every single court decision. So it'll go through, there'll be another indictment. It'll go through the pretrial stage, which happens here too, where you examine the methods by which the evidence was obtained. Was it all done through due process in the correct way? If some things were, great, they stay in. If some things weren't, those would be excluded. And then trial's ready to go on all the evidence. It's already been examined. So then you would just go through the trial with that evidence.
One of the ongoing statements, or the statement that's been made, I've heard multiple times from the Tates, is that there are not victims. Or that if there were victims originally called victims, they have since recanted and said, we're not victims. We fully agreed to do the TikTok or the OnlyFans or whatever. Is that the case?
No. And again, when they say an absolute statement repeatedly, there are no victims. Andrew has said there's not one victim, not one woman has said that I've done anything wrong or accused me of a crime. That's an absolute statement. And he says it with such force. So if that's not true, then people should be alarmed. Why would you be okay with being lied to? And so the truth is, and this is indisputable, is that there are many victims. Now, some of the victims that are named in the criminal case, like Yasmina, who said, I wouldn't leave you even if I found out you're a serial killer. Well, she says she's not a victim. And the prosecution is still treating her as a victim, which I think is correct, because trafficking is being caused to engage in commercial sex act with fraud and coercion. If they found that the entire pretense of her working on OnlyFans was through lies and that Andrew Tate has kept all the money, whether she's okay with that or not doesn't change the fact that it was exploitive. But on the other hand, many victims have given testimony. Jane Doe is primarily a witness, right? She was there for a week. But Mary Doe gave detailed testimony about the sexual abuse she suffered. Many of the victims in the remaining case, I've read their testimony. Andrew met her in London, and she was a new Christian, a very innocent young woman. And Andrew had actually first reached out to her on Instagram because she liked to post of his on traditional family values, and she liked that. And so he reached out to her, messaged her, and they met in person in London. And so he specifically connected with her on her desire to have marriage and family, Christian values, traditional values. He lied to her about believing in those things and believing in God. And so their relationship escalated very quickly. He said he was going to marry her. And so he asked her to come to Romania, and she came. But then when she came, all of the little cracks in the story started to show, but he kept lying. So he kept saying that he was only in a relationship with her and they were going to get married. But meanwhile, he is simultaneously in very serious relationship with another woman and also numerous other women. But particularly, there's another woman he was saying the same very serious things about getting married and having children at the same time. And they're living in a house together. So that woman knows Mary Doe was brought here and is obviously not happy and treating her badly. And Mary Doe doesn't know what to believe because Andrew Tate's telling her, oh, just ignore that woman, she's crazy kind of thing. And then meanwhile, he's pushing her boundaries. So he's telling her to take sexual pictures with these other girls. She's saying, I'm not attracted to women. I don't want to do that. I don't believe in that. He's sending her Bible verses about obeying your husband. And so, he tells her it's not about, doing sexual things with other girls. I just want to see that you obey me. I want to see that you'll do something you don't want to do for me. So that's how he was manipulating her and slowly pushing her to do more and more things where she's now taking sexual pictures, engaging in sexual activity with these other women. Ultimately, he really coerces her into into a threesome, these other women, and she immediately after is sobbing and hysterical and distressed, and she had to get drunk beforehand and all of this, and he knows all.
And I want to get your thoughts on this clip from that interview with Tucker Carlson.
Are you charged with? That's a really good question. I'm charged with being the head of an organized criminal group, which is in charge of recruiting girls to make TikTok videos to steal the money from the TikTok views.
Recruiting girls to make TikTok videos and stealing the money. So it's really a financial crime?
First of all, just curious your take on that. Is that what he's charged with, the head of a crime group to make girls do TikTok and take money?
No, he's charged with forming an organized crime group to sex traffic women, and he's charged with rape.
People who have him on their show, they don't do the bare minimum of research. Then people like, Candace Owens, she lies to defend him. Okay. And something else I want to bring up with some of these, like, supposedly conservative Christian women who believe in the family values, okay, is that they're the ones that go on and on and on about how women are meant to be maternal, women are all meant to have children. If a woman says she doesn't want to have children, she's wrong. Women are supposed to put their spending time with their kids over a career. It's better if women are at home than at work. Because women are supposed to be these loving maternal things. Like, they go on and on about that, okay? And Candace Owens has gone on and on about that. Yet, she is the one who is defending the Tate brothers, and these are guys that have admitted to having sex with underage girls, okay? And she is defending this. And I think, where the hell do you get off complaining that other women aren't maternal enough when you are basically literally defending child abusers, okay? Because she even said in her first ever interview with Andrew Tate, she said, modern Western women are being brainwashed to hate children, and that's meant to be like the opposite of what a woman's meant to be like. And I think, like, how can you accuse other women of that when you're the one that will defend these basic perverts?
Vivian's 21, and at this point he's been a girlfriend for 6 years. So you do the math. It means that they met when she was 15 years old.
Example I have is of Tristan grooming a 16-year-old girl who he had attempted to recruit into webcam pornography into anal sex. He is still currently under investigation for attempting to traffic this child. This happened in 2020 when Tristan was 30 years old. First, we can see Tristan suggest bringing other girls in for threesomes to this young girl who he already has an intimate relationship with. We can see him suggest anal sex and say that it will make him happy if she does it for him. Later, we can see Tristan find out that she is only 16 and had been lying about her age. When the girl said that she had been lying because she wanted to have him and was afraid of telling the truth, Tristan said to her, "You know, in Romania, the legal age for sex is 15, right? I wouldn't have been so scared." The girl says, "I'm still underage. In 2 months, I'm 17, so it's still not okay." Tristan replied with, "Underage for what? Porn, yes, but we didn't make porn." Tristan went on to ask what else she lied about and if he can trust her. When she asked what she can do to help Tristan trust her again, Tristan says a few things. She says, "Okay, tell me." He said, "You want to be with me forever?" She says, "Yes, I promised that to you." Again, this is all after Tristan found out this girl was 16 years old. Tristan told this girl that he needs to punish her. He said, "For the next 10 times we have sex, it is only in your eyes." She said, "Okay, I deserve it." Tristan asked, "You never had anal sex before me, right?" She said, "Never." He told her that before they do it, she must prepare properly for it so it is more comfortable. It's what porn girls and video chat girls do to make it easier. He told her to Google how to prepare for anal sex and to buy the things that she needs to make it more comfortable for them both. Tristan told her that he was mad at her, and she said she was mad at herself. He told her that if she does everything he asks, that he'll keep her and trust her again with time. He said we will see if she obeys him about the angels. She said that she will, and she ordered the stuff. Tristan responded by saying, "Good girl." True, bottom of the barrel degeneracy. I need...
You know, she's even sat there with Tristan Tate before, talking about the seriousness of, like, people having sex with, you know, underage children and the problem of PDF files. She sat there with Tristan Tate talking about that. The guy that, he's had sex with underage children, and it's disgusting, right? And like, she's not the only one. Like, I mean, Pearl Davis, like, she defends the Tates as well. Well, she has done, and she tweets out stuff like 16-year-olds are hotter than 26-year-olds, right? But and she's one who also spends a lot of time trying to make out that modern Western women are not very good mothers, they're not very good wives, and they're not very good mothers. And again, like, this is pot calling kettle black. Like, where's your maternal instinct when you sexualize children to some of these red pill guys, and some of these red pill guys are trying to normalize old men sleeping with teenagers, well, sleeping with like 18-year-olds, you know, when they're still young and naive, because they're easier to control at that age. And it's disgusting, okay? And it's these women that, like, they call themselves conservatives, and they are like, oh, well, we believe in the family unit, because we're not like these modern Western women, because we stand up for family. And they are defending guys that are, like, inappropriate with children, and it's actually, like, really disgusting. Now, you get this kind of attitude from some of the people on the right and some of the conservatives, like, they try to make out it's the easily triggered liberals and people on the left that don't like Andrew Tate because they don't like mean words, okay? And I've seen comments, you know, like, when the Tates were allowed to go back to the, like, USA, and, like, a lot of people, you know, when they were allowed to leave Romania, a lot of people were angry about that. And I've seen comments saying stuff like, oh, I love seeing how the liberals squirm and are so upset about the Tates coming back to the USA because they hate everything he stands for. I've seen comments like that, and it's like, well, what do you think he stands for that people hate? Like, if you're saying that the liberals hate what he stands for, but you on the right like what he stands for, what does he stand for then? Does he stand for family values? No. Does he stand for conservative values? No. What does he stand for? Andrew Tate stands for basically bragging about how rich he is and what big cars he's got, from the money that he made from trafficking young women and scamming young men. That's what he stands for. And he also stands for bragging about having sex with underage girls. That's what he stands for. He stands for complete and utter degeneracy that is as far from, like, conservative values or family values, as far away from that as you could possibly get. And some of these dimwits on the right are like, oh, this will trigger the people on the left, won't it? It'll trigger the people on the left if we cozy up to this sex trafficking PDF file. This will wind them up, won't it? It's like, you're making yourself look stupid, okay? You can no longer claim that you're morally superior to the left. You can no longer claim that they're the degenerates and you're the ones that stand for family values. Not if that's who you look up to as an alpha male, as a role model. You know, is it men that are married and raise children that you think are good role models for men? Is it guys that raise good kids and have good family values that you think are good role models for men. Oh, no, it's an abusive pimp. It's sex trafficking, serial rapists who abuse children. That's who you see as a good role model for young men, and you idiots are bragging about that. But I also want to point out, for those as well that think that, oh, it's just the people on the left, it's just the liberals that, think he's guilty. As people on the right, we're not the triggered snowflakes like them. I want to point out something. There's a guy, Dick Masterson, his name is, and he wrote a book, Men Are Better Than Women. Okay. That guy, he apparently interviewed Andrew Tate years ago, and he claims that Andrew Tate admitted to him that he has R-worded women and beaten women. Okay, he claims he admitted that in an interview. Now, I don't think the interview is online anymore, or if it is, I can't find it. But what I did find was a video where Dick Masterson is like talking to some of the people that listened to the interview and left comments. He's talking to them, and like he's talking about some of the stuff that Andrew Tate admitted to in the interview.
Remember when we interviewed Andrew Tate, or I interviewed Andrew Tate,
Yes.
whatever? Remember when Andrew Tate called in?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you know how Andrew Tate got arrested?
Yeah.
For like all the stuff that he's obviously guilty of.
That he's been bragging about for, right? I mean,
So that's what I said, because every time it comes up, I'm
that's all
like, you guys, he's obviously guilty. He's like, how do you think pimps work? Because they kick the shit out of whores. That's
mean-
why you think chicks are gonna fuck or make. I mean, women don't want to work. I don't know if you've not encountered that in your life, but
it gives them motivation.
That's
in
why
certain kinds of ways to.
Yeah, that's why like half the day has to be filled with HR meetings and talking about your feelings and shit, or else women won't work. They'll die. They're like a shark. They'll just go like, they'll just wither up and die. So the only reason they're fucking for money or taking their clothes off is because someone's sitting there saying, "I'm gonna kick the shit out of you unless you do this."
I mean,
that's how it works.
I mean,
sorry to tell you how the sausage is made.
There's got to be some motivation when you're, like, most women would not.
You think the Jackson
choose
5
that,
just really love dancing? No.
Right.
Nobody was in there going, you better fucking dance, Michael, or I'll kick the shit out of
Yeah,
you.
Dad's just off stage.
And so every time it comes up, I'm like, you guys got to stop defending this guy. He's obviously guilty. You're going to look, whatever. I don't care. So people will go, what are you, part of the Matrix, Dick?
Oh, God.
What are you, part of the Matrix, or what are you, a feminist? I'm like, no, I know, because he called into my show and confessed all of these crimes to me.
Yeah, I mean,
personally, right? So he
seems to be pretty, open about
braggadocious about it, right?
Yeah.
And not in a funny
It's like,
way.
did he
It's just like bragging about it, like, okay, that's cool.
Did
I
he
like
forget
crimes.
that? Did he forget that talking about stuff like on the internet doesn't make it less real? I honestly think that some people think that where it's like, just like, oh, but it's all
Yeah, but it's
online
just
shit.
online.
It's like,
Yeah, I was just joking around.
Wait a minute, you can't. That's not anymore.
I think it's funny. I like pimps. I like people who do. I mean, I'm not like Captain Save-A-Ho, where I'm out here saying like, oh man, we gotta make sure all these women that have fucked us over for tens of thousands of years get somebody takes an eye out for them. Somebody keeps an eye out for them. Like whatever, that's the law. I mean, force it or don't. I'm not the cops. So somebody asked for the interview and I sent it to him, and he's this big Tate account, and he clips it. And it's got, as of today, it's like 3 million views. But he fucking cropped out all of the show stuff. He cropped off the logo and didn't give me any credit for it. But my voice is still on it. So I'm talking millions of views, right?
Yeah.
And all the comments are people like, wow, Andrew Tate sucks, but this guy interviewing him is a real piece of shit, too. I'm like, what? I didn't beat any or rape any women. I'm not pimping women out. I didn't do anything just because I think it's funny. What the fuck is this? I'm the one that got the confession, and I'm the bad guy?
Okay, so this Dick Masterson claims that Andrew Tate has admitted to this. So it's not just like, oh, it's liberals that are just triggered, or it's male feminists and all that. It's like, no, okay. Even in prison, right, people who have done inappropriate stuff to children are in danger of being beaten up, okay? Because even other prisoners who may have done terrible things themselves are disgusted by people who do inappropriate things to children. Okay, the only people that seem to scratch their head in confusion to why a guy admitting to sleeping with underage girls, a guy admitting to scamming women and trafficking women, and a guy who's accused of raping many women and strangling women and beating women. The only people that seem to be confused as to why somebody who does that is not liked, well, is people on the right, conservatives, not all of them, but some of them, too many of them, and well, red pillars who don't like women anyway and just can't believe a man can ever like be accountable and will just find ways to put the blame on the women. Okay, so that's the kind of thing. Is that like, well, most people, even criminals, are disgusted by people that do sexual crimes to children. But these conservatives will sit there scratching their head and being like, oh, I don't understand. Why do people hate Andrew Tate so much? Oh, it must be because he says controversial things that hurt people's feelings. It's like, no, dumbass, it's because he's a freaking dangerous abuser. And the other thing, well, that recently, like, caused issues is, like, the Tates obviously being allowed to leave Romania, and first of all, they were allowed to travel to the USA, okay, but they had to go back to Romania, like, at the end of March, but then, of course, they've been allowed to travel again to Dubai. But they still have to come back, like, every month, I think it is, to, like, sign the bail or whatever thing it is. And, it seems like the reason why they've been allowed to travel, which is pretty disgusting, really, is because the Trump administration had poked their nose in and asked, and had pressured them, to let the Tates leave Romania, okay, which... this is really quite disgusting, in my opinion. People that are accused of less severe crimes don't get the same sort of rights that the Tates have, but also, like, seen as the Tates have, like, tried to intimidate witnesses before, okay. And that's why, like, I think it's, like, disgusting that they were allowed to leave Romania. In fact, in my opinion, I don't think they should have even been let out of prison. Okay. Yeah, when they were allowed to leave Romania, the first place they went to was Florida, which happens to be where one of the alleged victims live. Okay. And the first thing they did is take a restraining order against this alleged victim, saying that she's caused them emotional distress or something like that, when really she hasn't done anything to them. This is an intimidation tactic, okay? And in my opinion, I do not think they should have been allowed to travel when the guys, they were even caught when they were in prison trying to intimidate witnesses, okay, but they didn't, Tate didn't realise his phone was being recorded, apparently. So I think it's quite disgusting that the Trump administration pressured Romania to let them travel, and I think it's disgusting that Romania caved to that. Also, in that few weeks that they were in the USA, another woman has now come forward and said that Andrew Tate has assaulted her. Okay, and this is a woman who was his girlfriend, and she said the same sort of thing as that the other alleged victims have said, that he was strangling her, that he was beating her in the head. And she went to the doctors, and the doctor, like, said she was, like, part concussed or something like that. And again, they've got text conversations between her and Tate, where Tate is basically, like, admitting violence again. And you get people who say stuff like, oh, well, why did she choose to go out with him, you know, when she knew, like, what he was accused of and what he's, you know, the stuff that he's like admitted to and stuff like that. And while I think like, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of question the mentality of somebody that would choose to go out with Andrew Tate, like knowing what he's accused of. But like, that's not really the issue. It doesn't matter what her reasons were for being in a relationship with Andrew Tate. It doesn't matter. Okay, the thing is like, if he's gone and done that again when he's already in so much shit, and he goes and does that again in just those few weeks that he was allowed to leave Romania, like, he's just going to carry on doing it, okay? He's dangerous, okay? He's likely to end up killing somebody, okay? If it's a popular thing that he likes to do is strangle women until they go unconscious, he's going to likely end up killing people. Apparently he was at one point being investigated for murder, and his ex-girlfriend Vivian has claimed that she has seen guys strangle women to death before.
That's the reasoning behind like why some girls don't like it, because they're scared they're gonna die. I've actually seen some guys accidentally, how funny is that? Accidentally kill their girlfriends during the sex because they were choking them that hard.
Okay, so I don't know how much evidence people need that this guy is extremely dangerous. It's very disappointing that some of the most sort of like powerful people in the world seem to be supporting the Tates, okay? I know that, I mean, Donald Trump claims that he didn't know about this when Andrew Tate was allowed to travel to America. He claims he didn't know about it. Whether he's telling the truth or not, I don't know. I suspect that the reason why Andrew Tate sort of cozies up to like very important people in the first place is because he wants them on his side, because that's like about his only hope of like maybe avoiding justice. Okay, and it's frustrating that like even the most sort of powerful people in the world just believe the lies and don't even do minimum research. Well, either they just believe the lies, or like a lot of people on the right, they just really do not care about women. I'm sorry, but that is true. Now, Donald Trump had been found guilty before in a civil trial of essaying women. Okay, now a lot of Trump supporters seem to think that these are false allegations. Now, I hope they're right, okay? I'm not a fan of Trump, but I really don't want to believe that the president is somebody who has done that before, okay? I don't want to believe it, okay? But there is part of me now that is kind of thinking, like, well, is the reason why a lot of, like, Trump or a lot of people, a lot of the powerful people on the right, is it like because are they supporting the Tates because it's like predators supporting predators? I don't know. I mean, is it that they just really don't seem to think that it's that serious, that they don't really sympathise with women, or have some of them even been involved in very dodgy stuff themselves? You know, there's some people are speculating about a Tate list. You know, the same way that there was an Epstein list, like people are speculating about whether there's a Tate list, and that there's some of the people that are supporting the Tates, whether it could be that the Tates have got dirt on them. Okay, now, don't know, this is just speculation, but I do find it extremely fishy, the amount of people that just blindly like believe his lies. I also like don't understand like the kind of power he has over people, like why people like seem to love him so much, because like even if he wasn't accused of the things that he's accused of, okay, I'm pretty sure like if I met somebody who like talks like the way he does, I would just think they're a twat, okay? Like people that just brag and think they're better than everybody else, it's it's fake. It's not real, okay? It's fake confidence, you know? Psychologists say that actually narcissists actually hate their self, okay? It's like a false self they portray to people. Okay, I don't understand, you know, and so many of like the red pill and all that complain about modern women being narcissistic, and it is so hard. It is so hard to not just call them all stupid, you know. It's like, because it sounds like a really nasty thing to say, but it's just, I don't know, the manosphere, the red pill community, people on the right who just blindly believe this rubbish when it's such outrageous lies. And it's like, it's just hard to not call them stupid. Okay. And
ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Tate joining the show. Andrew Tate, a man who we've followed for a long time, who has a profound and serious voice in culture. And we're proud to defend his free speech and his also exoneration from charges that have been brought by the state for nothing, which is now demonstrable, which is now proven, ladies and gentlemen. This show is going to be wall to wall. Andrew, we have a special guest that is joining us right now, somebody who noticed that you would be on our show and wanted to say hello. This is the attorney for President Trump. Her name is Alina Habba, and she joins us live right now.
Hi.
Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice
Big
to meet
fan.
you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. I agree with everything you say. And I have your back out here in the States. And when I saw that you were going to be on, I said to Benny, I have to meet Andrew Tate. There is literally only one person with the same amount of anger and fire, and that's probably me and President Trump. But it's because you love what's right. We need strong, powerful voices like yours. And yeah, I got your back over here.
You've seen it in New York, but I promise you the only place worse is Romania. You would not believe the stories that I will one day tell.
I've been watching. And it's very clear what the problem is. You have a strong voice. You have a lot of followers. You are much like President Trump in that way. You have influence. And when people have influence, they have to fight harder. And unfortunately, you are a victim of that. I see it. That doesn't make you a victim. You're a strong person, but they'll hit you as hard as they possibly can because of that. It's a disgrace what they're doing. Obviously, I don't know the facts of your case, but I know that it probably wouldn't be happening if you were not yourself. And that's very similar to my client. And
this has been really fun.
Thanks for letting me crash your party.
That's right. You'll have the podium next time, Alina.
No, I don't need it. I'm good here.
Alina Habba and Andrew Tate, everyone.
The other thing that, like, some people on the right have said before about how they don't understand why it is that they seem to, like, not get so many women voters. Like, you know, as a generalization, more women seem to vote left and more men seem to vote right. And Lauren Chan, when she was on YouTube, she made a video saying, like, oh, you know, talking about this and saying, like, oh, why are we not very good at reaching out to young women? And I kind of think, like, well, this is probably why. Okay, all right. I mean, I don't want to be like I don't want to be saying this about everybody on the right, but you know, I remember there was one YouTuber, like, she said she thinks the right doesn't care about women and the left doesn't care about men, and I think there's an element of truth there. Okay, and it's not all of them, it's not all of the left or all of the right, but I think there's this element of more people on the left seeing it as like women are the victims and men have it easy. And then there's more people on the right who seem to see it as like men are the victims and women have it easy. And I think when people have that mentality, they then sort of lack empathy for the people that they think are the privileged class. Okay. And also, say, like, a lot of people on the right, a lot of conservatives, they blame all the problems in the West, well, what they think are problems on the West, on feminism, and as kind of an extension of that, women. Now, I do. There are some radical feminists that are crazy, okay, and there is some certain amount of unfair demonization of men, okay, but there's also certain ways our society has changed that I think would have happened like without feminism. Like, you know, like I think the reason why like there's more divorces, people don't wait till they're a virgin when they get married. Not a lot of people do now, because people aren't as religious as they were, okay? Or women, like, they're not all at home being stay-at-home mothers, because like most families can't afford it nowadays, because housework has changed, so it's much easier as well than what it used to be years ago. And I don't know, there's a lot of these people who want to go back to the 1950s and they blame feminism for everything, and it's like, as society has just changed, okay, it would have happened without feminism, okay, but because like people sort of blame feminism and they blame women for everything, they then, people on the right, they then stop holding men accountable, okay? So it's like hookup culture is apparently the fault of women and feminism, okay? But there's plenty of men, like in the red pill, that give advice like, oh, sleep with like 50 women before you can find one that's marriageable, or dump a woman if she doesn't sleep with you straight away, or cheat on your wife and stuff like that. And they get a free pass to say all this this degenerate crap, and like nobody's going to call them out because, oh no, men have apparently been criticised enough, so we're putting all the blame on women, kind of thing. And then all divorces are women's fault, and there's like people who'll say stuff like, oh yeah, but if she really cares about her kids, she'll stay with him even if he cheats. So again, it's like, oh, so the blame is all on the woman, okay. And then like when it comes to allegations of SA, you know, people are like, oh well, you know, we don't just hashtag believe all women, and it's like, okay, but that doesn't mean that every single woman's a liar, okay? I get the idea that like false allegations exist, and it's important that people realise that not every single woman who says that this has happened to her is telling the truth, and that men can have their lives destroyed by false allegations. But that doesn't mean that like, oh, you're on the right or you're a conservative, you've got to just assume all women are liars, even when there's overwhelming evidence. Like in the Tate's case, there is overwhelming evidence that these guys are serial rapists, okay, and that they have subjected women to horrific abuse, and teenage girls, and a lot of the evidence is coming from them. It's coming from their own mouth, it's coming from text conversations that they've had with women and girls. It's coming from them, okay, but the Tates kind of know, I think they kind of know how to play to the sort of, well, kind of play to the red pill, right-wing sort of mindset, okay? Like, they know that if they play the victim and say like, oh, you know, this is because of, we live in the Me Too era, this is why this is happening to us, that like red pill men are going to resonate with that, because they've already got that mindset that men have to be really, really careful in the Me Too era. But these are guys that like, the reason why they don't like the Me Too era is because they have done stuff like that they should be held accountable for. It's not stuff that there's false allegations, it's stuff, they've done stuff wrong and they don't want to be held accountable for that, but they know that the red pill mindset is to just see them as victims and just dismiss every woman as a liar. Or the Matrix, that term was being used by red pillars before Andrew Tate became famous, so of course he's latched onto it and he's now like, I'm a victim of the Matrix. Okay, so he's using their own kind of mindset to sort of manipulate these guys. It's like he knows that you know, what to say to sort of play to their mindset, to get them all on side, to get them to believe what he says. Okay. And then, you know, back to the original point, when people ask questions like, well, why don't women vote for us then? It's like, because you're very anti-woman. It's one thing to say, like, oh, but feminism destroyed everything, so we've got to call out women. Okay, but there's such a thing as overcorrection. And it's like, but also a lot of women, they probably don't realise stuff like that, you know, some of the worries that men have, like, if you want to get women to realise just insulting women isn't going to work, you know, to get women to listen to the struggles of men, just like insulting women and slagging women off and telling women they're to blame for everything, while patting men on the back no matter what, it is not going to work, okay? It just comes across as anti-woman. And when people make video after video after video taking the piss out of women, but don't call men out when it's like stuff just as bad, of course it looks like there's a major bias, and that people on the right just don't like women very much. And it's also the case that when it comes to some of these conservatives, it's this really weird thing that they seem to think for a woman to be part of the conservative community, she's got to be living a conservative life, right? She's either got to be married with children, or she's got to be wanting to get married and wanting to have children and wanting to be a homemaker for her to be considered a conservative woman. But men, they don't have to be living a conservative life to be considered part of the conservative, like, community, okay? They can be guys who advocate for sleeping around, cheating on your wife. Like, they can be as far from conservative in their own life, but as long as they sort of tweet stuff out saying like, oh, women at work are gonna end up as crazy cat women, or, you know, women shouldn't be wasting their time looking for a career, they should be looking for a man to have children with. As long as they say stuff like that, they're seen as, oh, the conservatives seem to see it as like, oh, they're one of us, like, even if they're not living a conservative life themselves, okay? Well, women, like, I mean, look, Lauren Southern, I mean, she was getting pressure from her fans for not being married when she was like 22 years old. And then, when her and her husband split up, she said she hid it for quite some time. She hid it because she knew that, like, a lot of the conservatives, they don't agree with women getting divorced, and they look down on single mothers. So she was too embarrassed to come out and say, like, oh, look, you know, I'm getting divorced, okay? Because she knew that she'd be looked down upon by that community. Yet men in the conservative community, like Count Dunkula, like, he just says, oh yeah, I'm getting a divorce, and it's okay because he's a man, you know? So it's like they hold women up to these strict traditional gender roles to be considered a conservative woman, but the men don't have to be even living a conservative life to be part of the community. And now Andrew Tate is as far from a conservative as possible, even if he wasn't a sex trafficker who has essayed children before. Even if he wasn't that, like, the stuff that he advocates for, sleeping around and cheating on your wife and then beating her up if she's upset about it, it's like, that's not conservative. That's as far from conservative as possible. Yeah, conservatives, you know, some of them, it's like they like the numbers. They like to have as many people on their side as possible. They want to say they've got, you know, as many people as possible. But women, they sort of hold to these standards, but men, they don't. I mean, like Russell Brand, they were like really pleased, like, oh, we've got a celebrity who's now a Christian, he's now a conservative. And it's like, well, the fact that it looks highly like he's been a rapist in the past, I mean, well, that doesn't matter, you know. he's a man, and I'm sure, even though like he hasn't admitted to what he's done, so he hasn't repented or said he's sorry or anything like that. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Men, like, they don't have to like be judged like women, apparently. And the reason why I say it looks like he's done what he's accused of is because there's that whole text conversation where he's apologising. That's why it looks like he's guilty. So that is sort of like largely why they're not going to get so many women like voting, because it doesn't come across as a woman, friendly community. Now, Lauren Chen at one time, when she was on YouTube, she said, Christian men respect women the most, and they believe in protecting mothers. She didn't say protecting women, she said protecting mothers, which I kind of took to mean like the good women that are doing, being a woman properly, okay? But I'm going to say that's not entirely true. Not when you're talking about like the Christian men that are like part of the manosphere. It's not true, okay? And the reason I would say that is because, like, if you're a woman, say, like, if you're a Christian woman and you do everything that they say is meant to be right, so say you're married as a virgin before you're 20 and you have loads of kids and you're a doting housewife and you live by all the traditional rules, so you're being like what is considered the good woman by their standards. Now they might say like, oh yeah, you're a good woman, you're respectable, well, all the other modern women are not so much. They might say that, but as soon as you have like a problem, like say if you say that you're in an abusive relationship. Now we saw this with Hillary Crowder. When Hillary Crowder claimed that Steve Crowder was abusing her, the guys from the Whatever podcast just dismissed it. They said like, oh no, women just call everything abuse. So they just dismissed it.
Let's be honest, women say everything is abuse. Yeah. Facts. So true. There is truth to that. So true. There is truth to that.
It's like like Steven Crowder was not abusing his wife at all. That was just blown over.
Absolutely was.
That was 3 minutes. Like 3 minutes of him making a mistake. Sorry for the tens of millions of dollars I've made, baby. I'm having a moment as a human right now.
Okay. So like what I'm trying to say is like, because a lot of the women, conservatives, I think they kind of think, oh, the reason why men are so angry at the minute and seem to hate women at the minute is because women are out of control in the West and women are behaving so badly. And if all women were like, traditional and living the, being the good housewives, these guys wouldn't be so angry. And I'm going to disagree with that. Or they think that the traditional women are respected more, and I'm going to disagree with that. If you're a good, wonderful, stay-at-home mother and you live the traditional life and you're a loving wife, if you say that your husband's abusing you, they'll dismiss it as nonsense because you're a woman and they don't take women as seriously, and that's all women. But even if you were to prove, like, no, look, my husband is really abusive, he's violent, he's beating me up, I'm living in fear all the time, then their response to that would be this.
If there's someone that's very, very young and goes into a marriage and has kids when they're like 18, 19, 20, a year into the relationship, it gets really, really abusive. Even though it might be rare from what you guys think.
It is.
If it would happen, what would you recommend for those people? Would they divorce, or do you want them to keep going in the relationship?
Keep going. You can't divorce, and that's not a real thing.
Even though it might be like physically abusive?
Because you got to endure. People are too...
You want to stick into the relationship?
People are just...
look,
people nowadays
I'm gonna be honest.
are just...
For anyone that might be in that situation, what would you recommend?
Okay,
endure.
I'll tell
would
you
they
what,
give up
I'll
divorce?
tell you what,
It is such an extreme example that I can't give a prescription for what other people should do.
What about if two people get married, they have a kid, and then the wife starts cheating? Do you think they should divorce?
Absolutely. Jesus himself said in cases of adultery, divorce is
So you think that
permissible.
divorce is worse than physical abuse?
For the children?
Or cheating, sorry. You think that cheating is worse than physical abuse?
For the
Sorry.
children, yes.
Absolutely. I think I'm not going to say this is worse.
Divorce is worse for the children.
And that is why I say that when you're talking about Christians, in the manosphere, I'm not talking about most Christians out in the real world. When you're talking about the manosphere, red pill, whatever, Christian conservatives, no, they don't respect women. No, they don't, but, no, they're not protective of women, okay? They don't like women, and it's all women, because you can be the good woman, and they're still, as long as you're living the traditional life, it's okay. If anything goes wrong, your partner's abusive or whatever, they'll dismiss you as just the silly, illogical woman and take the man's side, okay? And if you're a single mother, they'll look down their nose on you, even if it was the man's fault that you're a single mother, okay? And, the mere fact that they'll, so many of them will defend Andrew Tate just goes to show, no, they don't have a protective instinct over women. No, they don't. They protect the abuser, okay? So this is why I think a lot of the people on the right, or even people who are part of, the conservative community, they don't take the moral high ground over liberals. They're not all for family values and good morals and, for, raising good families themselves. There's a fair few of them who, they just want to whine about, feminism and the fact that women are working nowadays. And that they would really love it if they could force women to go being married at about the age of 20 and back in the kitchen, because this is kind of world they want. But they don't necessarily think that men should have to live by traditional rules, or they don't, or the kind of men that they see as role models for young boys. It's not men that raise good families and are good fathers that they see as a good role model for young men. The role models for young men, as we see, are degenerate sleazes, and in the Tate's case, criminals and horrific abusers, okay? And that's what they look up to. So that's why they're making a mockery. They're making the right look really, really stupid. Now, it's not everybody. It's not everybody on the right, obviously. Ben Shapiro obviously has called out the Tates, okay, and he's sort of tried to wake people up on the right, okay, and, he's not the only one that's spoken out against them. There's a few people, on the right that have sort of spoken out against Tate, and, Lila Rose, who I believe is a Christian conservative, she's the one who interviewed one of the lawyers for some of the alleged victims, okay, and that's a very good thing that she did, because it's good for the to hear their side of things and to highlight to draw attention to what the Tates are really like, rather than just listen to their lies all the time. And True Geordie, I mean, this was ages ago that True Geordie also interviewed a lawyer that is defending some of the alleged victims in Britain. So yeah, I mean, it's not all of them. Some of them are speaking out against it, against them. I also found it quite funny, Jordan Peterson's take on Andrew Tate.
And it's very easy for weak men to assume that power is the defining characteristic of a respectable man, an actually masculine man. And that's what Andrew Tate, at least in part, purports to sell his audience. So now Andrew Tate is a very bad actor, to say the least. He's a pimp, an electronic pimp. And I think pimps are possibly the lowest form of male life, because they are parasitic on women. And that's about as bad as you can get if you're a man. Maybe you can get lower because you could be parasitic on children. But being parasitic on women, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I really liked that take, okay? Because, I mean, I don't think it's right to parasite off of anybody, man or woman, right? But it's just the fact that people on the right, they say, they say it's masculine for the man to be the head of the house and him to be the provider and all that. Yet who they're looking up to, some of them are looking up to as an alpha male, he's somebody who's parasited off of women. Well, he's parasited off of women and men and off of society, okay? So he's parasited off of women because he trafficked women. He's parasited off of men because he scams men out of their money. And he's parasited off of society because, like, he's admitted to not paying taxes in many different countries, okay? So he just parasites off of everybody. And they see this as, like, and people are calling this alpha and saying it's masculine. No, it isn't. Like, even by their own definition, like, conservatives say the masculine role is to protect and provide. Well, the Tates are dangerous men. They're the ones that, like, women would need protecting from. So they don't protect and they don't provide, they parasite, okay? So even by, like, the right's own definition of a masculine man, they're not masculine, okay? So I did really like Jordan Peterson's take on him, okay? So it's not everybody on the right, okay? It's just, it seems that when it is people that support him, it is, like, mostly on the right, or, you know, I wanted to draw attention to the fact that some people calling themselves conservative or calling themselves Christians, like, support him, and I wanted to draw attention to that because it's ludicrous that, like, he is, like, as far from, like, conservative as possible, you know, and so many, like, the people, so many of these conservatives keep complaining about women doing OnlyFans, which, okay, if they don't agree with women doing OnlyFans, fine, but the Tates ran a webcam studio where they trafficked women and allegedly subjected them to horrific abuse and scammed men, right? Like, what they're doing is a million times worse, you know? Like, OnlyFans women aren't actually breaking any laws, they're not abusing anybody, like, even if you don't agree with it, they're not illegal, yet the Tates, they do a million times worse, but, oh, it doesn't matter, because they're men, and they come out with all this crap that people think is alpha male, and it's just ridiculous. But anyway, it's not everybody on the right, but there's too many of them, okay? So that's all I've got to say about that for now. Thank you for listening.